National Party call, so I'm going to take the National Party call. Honourable Chris Penk.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. We've heard a lot from the other side about the lack of a new hospital in Dunedin. I wonder if the members opposite might remember who was in government for the last 6 years that did not deliver such a hospital. Madam Speaker, this entire discussion would not be necessary if the government of the day 6 years ago had gotten underway and actually built the damn thing. Mr. Speaker, we've heard about responsibility needing to be taken in terms of what this government had inherited, but if this government had inherited a hospital in the first place, there would not be need for a new hospital. A bit of reality needs to be injected into the conversation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we've also heard about issues having already been resolved. Well, that's really interesting, because if the issue of needing a hospital had been resolved in the first place, again, it would be a moot point. We would not need to be having this discussion. The people of New Zealand, the people of Dunedin particularly, would have the healthcare services, the facilities that they need, that we're hearing so much about now from people who were very quiet about it in the last 6 years when, patently, a new hospital was not being built. Madam Speaker, the opportunity cost of the funding, the additional funding needed to build the hospital is such that not only is that funding not available for other aspects of healthcare in Dunedin or indeed across the country, in addition, the 6 years wasted by the previous government in which they were busily not building a hospital has seen construction costs raise hugely. It's going to be very topical in the House this afternoon, Madam Speaker. 41% increase in construction costs since 2019. A huge additional amount, even leaving aside the cock-ups and the poor decision-making in relation to this hospital particularly, and the delay therefore represents an opportunity cost in terms of other things that money could have been spent on in the space, or indeed other things to improve the lives of the good people of Dunedin. Madam Speaker, the project as conceived by the previous government was on shaky foundations, poor foundations, both literally and physically from the very start. We are putting in additional funding. It is simply not accurate to characterise that as any kind of a cut. Dunedin does not have a hospital now that was promised by the previous government. It will, because we are promising to get on and do it. We're going to listen to the people, we're going to get on and do it, and actually they will then have the facilities they need and deserve.
Chair, Madam Speaker.
In what way are they listening to the people? I think I'm a bit lost here.
Did they listen to you?
No, at no point. But he tells us they're going to listen to the people, and yet we've just had Chris Bishop down here telling us that they're not listening to what we actually want.
They've never listened to me, so, you know, hey.
But it's a messy debate, because as the person who is in charge of running infrastructure projects, Chris Penk, it is unusual that we have not heard anything from him down here in Dunedin. But I'm also confused why they keep going back to this attacking Labour. I mean, they've been in government now for a year and a half. So,
not quite a year, but they've been in there long enough. I mean,
they've been long enough that
the amount of legislation, the amount of urgency they've gone through, you might as well think they've been in there for 3 years.
But they've also, saying that the hospital was something that Labour kept quiet about and didn't make any complaints. I find that very hard to believe, considering there were so many issues with this hospital over the past 3 years that National made it one of their core campaign promises that they would actually finish it, deliver it to specs with everything that it needed, and they made it a campaign promise and then turned around and broke that promise.
So I'm seeing questions in the chat asking, why did Labour take so long? Like, why wasn't a hospital built overnight? Why has it taken like 6 years to get to this point? You want to comment on that one, Troy?
Well, I talked a little bit earlier about the engineering problems that existed on the particular location and site, that it is reclaimed land, therefore the Environment Court stalled things down the way the Environment Court is supposed to do, by making sure that it was actually built appropriately, that it wasn't going to sink, that it had adequate support to go to the height that they needed. They then had to ramp up the helipad to make sure that military planes could be able to, military helicopters could land on it if there is an emergency evacuation. Then they had to go through and reassess the plan. Then we had COVID, and as a result of COVID, they had to then go and reassess based on what the inflation was doing and work out how much the extra costs were going to be. Not to mention the fact that it took a year and a half just to take the Cadbury factory down, because when a building had been standing for almost 100 years, they needed to make sure it was done safely and carefully. So it is a long process to get something this big up and constructed.
And also the Cadbury building, did it have anything to worry about with asbestos?
Yep.
It did. I don't know enough about that to be certain, but it definitely did.
That slows down demolition.
So,
well, exactly, because it has to be removed carefully.
Yeah, so that's why it can take 6 years to get to this point in development.